Welcome back to Cemetery Explorations. Today we are in Rockton, Illinois, Rockton Township Cemetery, and the wildlife is out in full force. There are pelicans swooping overhead, there are cicadas in the background, and there are a lot of historic graves here. So we're going to walk around and take a look and see what we can see. I'm going to tell you the stories about some of the people that I know a little bit about in this cemetery. But this place is very heavy on history, war veterans, Civil War soldiers, you name it. There's some interesting people here. Not many people have heard of this cemetery or of this town, but it is a very fascinating place to come and check out. It is one of my favorites. This is not too far away from where I grew up at. So today we're going to walk around and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Here is a cannon that is marked Rockton Veteran Association from 1897. Now, if you can see, there's a lot of interesting looking graves here. A lot of really interesting different designs, I should say. This one's always kind of fascinated me a little bit. Daniel C. Burdick, 1804 to 1906. It looks like he passed away one day short of his 102nd birthday. That is kind of insane for that time period. Carolyn, wife of D.C. Burdick, 1818 to 1896. Just behind him is the coal stone. This is really interesting. I don't know too much about this family directly, but there are a lot of really interesting graves just up here. Here's one that's labeled Sichel. It's not very big, but it is interesting. Now, this is one of the fun things about seeing old cemeteries, is that not only are these very old stones from back in the 1800s, early 1900s sometimes, but these are mostly still original. People do come out and clean them from time to time. Every once in a while you'll come out and there will be somebody cleaning the gravestones, which is nice. Now here's one right over here talking about Civil War veterans. 1841 to October 22nd, 1862. This was Oscar Richardson. It says he was a sergeant in Company C, 1st Wisconsin Cavalry. And they're labeled with these right here, the American Legion. Those are Civil War markers. And here is another one right next to it. This is labeled General William Richardson, it looks like. Born in this is really worn, 1789, it looks like. Died in 1860. And he also has one of these. So this very well could be quite a good age gap, but this could either be a father and son or a grandfather and grandson. Now, just in front of me in this enclosure here is something that this was a lot of local lore and legend. They used to call this the witch baby. Now, they said that people would get really uneasy feelings around here, that people would occasionally see things, that they would feel things, and people leave offerings, even to this day, a lot of different toys. And it was just a boy, and he was only 10 months old when he passed away in 1855. Now, the legend of this has since been debunked. This was not a witch baby. This was just one of the sad, unfortunate early passings from back in the day. This was Charles Wright. They actually put up a sign to debunk the legend, if you'd like to read through that. But as you can see, people still do visit frequently. They leave a lot of different toys and various offerings. But that had to have been pretty heartbreaking back then. You know, people got diseases and there was very little that you could do about it. And just over there, if you can see this, there is a turkey running amok. You just never know what you'll see in a cemetery. Now this over here is the grave of Charles Reed. He was a veteran of the War of 1812, and he actually passed away in the middle of the Civil War. Now it looks like he served not only in the War of 1812, but he also served in the Civil War. Now he would have been quite old at the time. He would have been in his 80s, it looks like, at the time of the Civil War. So I'm not exactly sure what what he would have done in that, but it looks like he was very active in the War of 1812. But this is Charles Reed. Now one of my favorite graves here is this one right in front of me. This is Elon Farnsworth. And Elon Farnsworth came from a long line of war heroes, military veterans. And it says on here he was a brigadier general. Now he served in the Civil War. Elon Farnsworth, his name was also, there was an inn, I think it was in Pennsylvania, that was named after Elon Farnsworth, Farnsworth Inn. That is one of the most haunted places that they say in the country, but that's something else to look into altogether. But Elon Farnsworth was in the Civil War, and he actually died at the Battle of Gettysburg, July 3rd of 1863, excuse me. He was 25 years old. Now the thing about this is that he was nominated brigadier general by Abraham Lincoln, but he passed away in the Battle of Gettysburg before the appointment went through Congress, so he never lived to see the actual title, but it is still here on his gravestone. Elon Farnsworth. And this is the grave of Henry Shibley. It says he passed away September 27th, 1865, 44 years old. Now I have no idea who Henry Shibley is, but I always loved walking by this one because it has a really neat design to it. There's something really neat about this. Seeing wildlife in cemeteries never really gets old. Now just over here is another interesting one in American history. Everybody has heard of the Titanic, but do you know anything about the Eastland disaster? That was one of the biggest maritime disasters that happened in Chicago, and a lot of people lost their lives that day. It was a very tragic thing. A company was taking a kind of an afternoon outing with their co-workers, their friends, their families, and the boat capsized in the Chicago River. But this is Grace Stevens, and she was one of the tragic victims of the Eastland disaster. Well, that's about all we have for you today. Thanks for joining us on Cemetery Explorations. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and let me know in the comments what you like best about this, and if you'd like to see more. But thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.